everyone, we're going to start the meeting. Today we have Sarah Velasco, the Build Coordinator from Cal State Long Beach, talking to us about the Build program.
All right. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see you. Some of you on the Zoom boxes and then some of you in person. My name is Sarah Velasco, and as I was introduced, I'm the Training Program Coordinator for the CSULB Build program. I'll go ahead and share my screen so y'all can follow along on our presentation. And I should note that these materials will be shared with you as well, so don't feel like you have to seriously write down information. And I'm always happy to be contacted by email if you have any follow-up questions as well. The CSULB Build program is, BUILD stands for Building Infrastructure Leading to Diversity, and it's a research training program here on campus. I currently work in this position as the program coordinator, but to share a little bit of my background as well, I'm a double alum of Cal State Long Beach. So I got my bachelor's and master's here in psychology and psychological research, respectively. And I have strong ties to the department as well. Some folks that were former professors are now colleagues in this new role that I'm in. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit about the Build program, and then I'll throw on my psychology hat as well and share some resources and tips to succeed at the beach in psychology. I should also note that, while this presentation has a lot of, CSULB specific information, whatever institution you transferred to, definitely use some of these resources and kind of search tools as you navigate that, and seek out programs like Build and seek out resources in your department. All right, so I'll start off, like I said, with the Build program. Build, actually, I guess I'll start off with my contact info. So I've listed my email here, but we also do have a shared inbox. So if you have any questions that are related to Build, you're always welcome to email this and one of our staff will get back to you. But if you have any specific questions for me, you're welcome to email me here. So a little bit of the history of the Build program. We have been on campus for 10 years now, and we are a legacy program of the National Institutes of Health. So the National Institutes of Health is a federal agency that addresses health issues within the United States. And basically the issue that they found is that there's a lack of diversity and lack of representation in research and science careers that surround human health. And so what they decided was to grant different institutions and different universities money to build up a program that will support students to kind of gain access to those types of careers. So this is a really awesome program that helps students get into PhD programs within health-related fields. And what's really unique about our program is that we don't only view health from the perspective of biomedical health or what you think of as the traditional STEM fields, but we also saw value in behavioral health, things like psychology, sociology, public health, kinesiology. And so what's really cool about our program is that we have a blend of different majors and folks that have different research that they're conducting. So we have a really transdisciplinary approach where we see value in all types of health-related research, including psychology. And so the goal of our program is to really support students and strengthen their ability to apply for PhD programs and gain access to those careers. So really, we are supporting folks that want a career in research, potentially a career in academia. So for folks that might be interested in more applied work like counseling or clinical psychology for practice, this might not be the best fit for you, but if you are interested in research, then this could be a good avenue. And, students come to us and they're not always sure of their careers, and, college is a time of exploration. So, once you have a firmer idea of what you want to do with your degree, then definitely look into programs like Build. So our program does have 2 tracks, and we are currently, our application isn't open yet, but it will be opening soon in November. But in terms of, what the program timeline looks like for our students, we really are seeking students that are gearing up to prepare for PhD applications, master's applications. And so with that in mind, we do recruit students that are a little bit closer to their graduation timeline. So our fellows program is a 1-year program for folks that will be entering their senior year. And then our scholars program is a 2-year program for folks that are entering as kind of junior-ish level, so that we can kind of work with you as you apply for summer internships, research opportunities, and then in the senior year, apply for grad school. Here we have a photo of some of our build students. This was from our first and second year cohorts, and all of these students are community college transfers who kind of went through our program. In terms of the eligibility for our program, we do have a few criteria that students must meet to apply. The first is that applicants must be a U.S. citizen, legal permanent resident, or be DACA eligible. Unfortunately, we aren't able to accept international students at this time, but there are other volunteer programs on campus if you are interested in research and kind of gaining that hands-on experience within your discipline of study. For example, on campus, we have the Office of Undergraduate Research Services that has an awesome program called Hours Connect, where students are able to volunteer and gain that research experience to build up their academic resume and show folks that they have experience outside of the classroom setting. The other requirement is that our applicants must be full-time undergraduate CSULB students as of fall 2025. So this can get a little bit tricky for folks sometimes, especially transfer students. So at the time that our students apply for our program, you don't currently have to be a CSULB student, but by the time you are in the program, then you must be a full-time undergrad student. So our application cycle is open each year at the same time. So if you're not sure if you're coming to Cal State Long Beach yet, or if you're currently applying, then you can definitely apply for our program. And then kind of like, we'll work with you to see if you will be an undergrad student, once you're accepted into the program. We also require that our students major in one of these 4 colleges. These are the colleges that all relate to health here on campus. So we have Natural Sciences and Mathematics, the College of Engineering, Health and Human Services, and Liberal Arts. And the psychology majors are housed within liberal arts. So if you're planning on transferring and being a psych major, then you would certainly fall under the accepted majors. The other criteria is that interest in health-related research. Again, this ties back to our former funding agency, the National Institutes of Health. I should also mention that, within psychology, as I'm sure you know, there's a ton of different branches or different paths that you can take and different disciplines that you can focus on. So we really are looking for folks that are going to be studying and interested in human health. So the branches of psychology, such as clinical psychology, health psychology, anything kind of like stress related or cognition related. So things like that. There are some social psychology that kind of relates to human health as well, but the awesome thing about, if you're unsure whether your area of study or the thing that you want to research falls under that category, is that we actually have a list of build mentors within the psychology department. So you can kind of see their research topics and see if that would be eligible. And then lastly, intending to apply to a PhD program during the last year at CSULB. I know this sounds a little bit daunting, and you might be thinking right now, like, oh, PhD sounds so far down the line. But that's kind of the intention of our program, is to really help you feel supported and feel confident in applying. The other thing we keep in mind is that the path to the PhD isn't always straight. And I mean, similar to the path in life, right? Like it can take many twists and turns. And so we recognize that entering a PhD program right out of graduation might not be the most traditional route for certain majors. And so if you think that you might feel more comfortable applying to a master's program or a post-baccalaureate program before applying to PhD programs, we certainly work with our students and kind of figure out what that looks like. But we really are looking for folks whose end goal is to do a PhD. All right. And then I did mention that we do have 2 different programs. We have the Scholars Program and the Fellows Program. And the only difference that we have between these 2 programs is the time to graduation. So I mentioned, we are looking for kind of upper division students that are close to within 1 to 2 years of graduation. And the reason why this is kind of critical for our eligibility criteria is because we work really closely with our students in developing those application materials, helping them write their statements of purpose, ask for letters of recommendation, and gear up for that grad application process. And if you still have 3 to 4 years left, then we're not quite close enough to that timeline to support you in the best way. And so for the scholars program, this is for folks that will be graduating from CSULB in fall 2026 or spring 2027. And because, these folks do have a little bit more time with us, no research experience is required. Of course, it's always good if you, are interested and want to get involved in research. You can certainly apply and gain that experience early on, but it's not required to apply. And for our fellows program, which is geared more towards folks that are going to be kind of entering their senior year, the ones that will be applying to grad school, because applying to grad school is similar to applying to college. You apply, let's say you want to enter in fall 2026, you would be applying in fall 2025. And so these are students that are gearing up for college or graduate applications that will be graduating soon. And so we're looking for folks that are graduating within the next year. In this case, research experience is recommended just because these students have a much shorter timeline with us. They might have 6 months to 1 full year with us. And so having that research experience already is going to make for a more, well-rounded graduate application. Okay, so those are our 2 programs. And I'll kind of go over what activities our students participate in, but just the main highlight here is the graduation timeline is the main difference. So I've kind of laid out the timeline here. I wish I had more arrows, because if I did, I would include the application timeline here, which our application is open from November 2024 to March 2025. And then in this little invisible arrow that I would include here, we have the application review, interview, and notification process where folks, find out whether they're accepted into the program or not. One thing I forgot to mention is that we are taking on 13 students for this next year, and those 13 students will be split between the scholars and fellows. But yeah, once our students are notified, then they start the summer with us in our what's called SURGE, our Summer Undergraduate Research Gateway to Excellence program. That's a mandatory 8-week program. It is paid, and our students participate in this program full time. So it's a great way to orient students to research culture, orient to the BUILD program. During the summer, we also build a lot of camaraderie among students. So this is where they really get to know one another and learn about the different research that each student is doing. Also during the summer, our students are conducting research with their BUILD faculty mentors. And I think I mentioned before, we do have a list of BUILD faculty who are committed to serving students that will be working over the summer and during the academic year, supporting our students' research growth and kind of showing them the ropes of research. So yeah, that first summer is spent, like I said, orienting to research, building up presentation and writing skills, getting to know one another's research, and then it ends with our summer symposium where students present the research that they've done over the summer. And then during the academic year, our students continue working with their faculty mentor, conducting research again, presenting their research at various conferences, which are like giant science fairs, and then also participating in our learning community. So our learning community is the class where we go over professional development. So again, how to do a scientific poster, how to create a CV, which is your academic resume, how to prepare your graduate application materials. So that's kind of what we focus on during the academic year. And then we also support our students and provide advice and feedback on their summer internship applications. So basically, like during this fall year or during the fall to spring in junior year, students apply for summer internships. And what's cool about these summer internships is that students apply to different institutions all across the country and have the opportunity to conduct research at a research-intensive institution. And what's awesome about getting accepted into a program like this is that typically they're paid. You'll get paid to do that research. They'll pay to fly you out. It's basically like a summer camp for research. They'll provide you with a stipend, and then it's an opportunity again to build more connections in the research community and also have another letter of recommendation writer. And then when our students come back to us in the fall and spring, This is kind of crunch time for them as they're applying for their graduate programs and then hopefully get into PhD programs. But you know, like I said, the path to the PhD isn't always straight, so we always come up with a plan B with our students and figure out what their next steps look like. So that's the Scholars Program. And then the Fellows Program, like I mentioned, is very fast track. We only have 1 year with these students, and so I guess these are the arrows that I was missing. You know, the students go through their freshman, sophomore, junior year. Then they apply from November to March. And then once they're accepted into our program, they have the summer with us, orienting to the Build program, you know, conducting their research, getting those presentation skills. And then in the fall semester, that's when they apply for the PhD program. And so that's why within the Fellows program, we really do recommend having some prior research experience so that you have, you know, you're able to speak to those experiences in your application. Now, for you all as transfers, you know, if you're applying to our program, depending on, you know, how you want to maximize your experience, some folks apply as they're coming to Cal State Long Beach, and that might be a good fit for this Scholars Program. And then others decide to wait a little bit. They decide to come to Cal State Long Beach, get their feet under them, you know, kind of get acclimated to the research workload and the, you know, the course workload before applying to our program. So, you know, you're welcome to apply to either of these programs depending on your graduation timeline. And then I did mention, you know, we do have this learning community. We have the learning community in both the summer and the academic year. But the summer is a little bit more research, it's a little bit more intensive because, you know, you're coming to us for the first time and we're really trying to maximize our time with you while you're not taking classes and have other obligations. But during the academic year, we meet once a week for 1 hour. And so we have graduate application support, guest speakers, and presentation opportunities. So in these photos, we have a little picnic that we did where, again, like an opportunity to connect and build camaraderie. And then this bottom picture here is during the summer, we have what's called the elevator speech contest where students practice giving their spiel about their research. So if anyone asked them, you know, tell me about your research, they would be able to do it in 1 to 2 minutes and kind of keep you captivated. Other activities that we do during the summer. So like I said, we have more time with the students in the summer. One of the cool things that we do is visit UC Irvine, which is one of our partner institutions. They're a research intensive university. And so it's really cool because their graduate division will host us, bring us on campus and kind of describe like what the grad culture is like, how, you know, tips and tricks on applying to grad school. They'll have student panelists that are current PhD students sharing their advice. And then we go around and take lab tours. So get to see, you know, what kind of cool research is being conducted. So here's some of our Build students at UCI. And what's awesome is we actually have a lot of alumni from the Build program at UCI too. So we usually try to meet up with them and kind of hear how they're doing and what kind of work they're up to. The next picture, this is from our Build Summer Symposium. So it's kind of cut off here, but you can kind of see a little corner of one of the posters that we had our students present. So all of these wonderful students had the opportunity to share their research. And, you know, everyone's kind of at different stages in the research process. Some of them are proposing a study. So they're just kind of fleshing out the idea of what they want to, what kind of experiment they want to have or what kind of study. Others have results to share. So it's a really awesome way for students to share where they're at in their research, which usually continues on into the academic year. And then in terms of some of the benefits of our program, the first, and I think one of the main highlights is that it's a paid research opportunity. So, you know, conducting research and doing research in your area of study is always going to benefit you because you can kind of view it as an internship or, like I think I mentioned before, you know, going above and beyond what you learned in the classroom and being able to apply what you learned to kind of like real world applications. So there's lots of research opportunities on campus, but, you know, for those that might have financial need, it's not always feasible to volunteer your time if you have other obligations. And so having, getting paid to do research definitely like offsets some of those costs. Of course, you know, there might still be a financial need and some of our students do work outside of the Build program, but it's meant to be a way to, you know, allow you to have more time to conduct research. We also have multi-level mentoring. Honestly, this is my I think biggest benefit that I see in the Build program is having somebody that has gone through the process or has helped support students who have succeeded in this process in the past, kind of show you that path and give you advice and help you build in your confidence to achieve your goals. So we do have multiple levels of mentoring. We have the Build faculty who leads the learning community, and they're the ones that work closely with you to develop your graduate application materials. They're the ones that kind of talk with you about your research and how to describe it to others. You also have your research faculty mentor. That's also called the Build mentor. They're the ones that are actually guiding you in that research process. So because we do have a bunch of different majors, a bunch of different disciplines on the Build staff and faculty side, we're not necessarily the experts in your area of study. And that's where your research faculty mentor comes in and kind of shows you the ropes again in what you're studying and what you want to pursue in the future. And then Build staff, that's me and a few other folks. We're here to make sure that you're on track with the program, that you're meeting program goals, and then also working with you to provide resources and tips. One of the other things is that we have a study center on campus, and that's kind of a big benefit too, because there's always a need for study space. And so my office is actually in the Build Center, so I often get students coming up to me with questions and just wanting to chat about career goals and things like that. We also allow for our students to have priority registration. So that's another major benefit, especially if you're applying to grad school. It can be challenging getting into the classes that you want or the classes that are going to support your track or area of study in psychology. So that's a pretty big one. And then we also give your research mentor supply funds so that you guys can actually conduct the research that you want to. A few other benefits, we do, being in Build meets one eligibility requirement for the CalFresh grant. So you can actually, if you apply for CalFresh and you meet all of the other eligibility, you can get up to almost $300 in grocery funds. So that's an awesome way to save money and get some healthy food. And then we also have graduate application school fee waivers. So I'm sure you might be going through this process now as you're applying to college. You know, each institution has their own application fee. It could be, you know, anywhere between $50 to $100 to apply. So saving money on all of those applications is going to be a major benefit. So yeah, that's kind of the Build program in a nutshell. I could talk about it all day, but I do want to mention that our application will be opening in November 2024. We'll kind of announce it on all of our social media, on our Build website. If you sign up for our listserv or interest list by clicking this button up here, then we'll send out that information to everyone on our listserv. And the application isn't due until spring. So usually I'll encourage folks to kind of take this time to think about the research that they want to do, connect with faculty, and decide, you know, if they do want to do research and apply for this program, think about who they want their letter of recommendation writer to be, and then apply when they feel ready. It's also an application where you can start it and then save it and, you know, come back to it later. So there's no rush to get it in right away. The other thing I want to mention is that it is a joint application with another NIH-funded program on campus called the URISE program. So if you do want to learn more about their program, you can definitely click here. They're a little bit more geared towards the biomedical sciences. They do have some psychology students, but again, they're a little bit more heavy on the life sciences and kind of things like neuroscience, neuropsychology. So that could be a good fit for you too. But either way, once you apply to the program, you'll be considered for both. In terms of what we require for the application, we have an application form online where we select your background, education, employment history, you know, the typical things that you would expect to see on an application. And then we do have an application statement, which you can, you know, kind of draft up and, you know, put in a Word doc and then copy into the application online form. This is just where we ask about your career plans, your prior research experience, your persistence, and how you might strengthen the community. You'll also be asked to submit your unofficial college transcript and then one recommendation form online. And then if you're, you know, curious or if you're feeling, you know, like, where do I begin? We will have some application support available in the spring. So we'll host drop-in office hours, but, you know, I shared our email. So if you ever have any questions or if you're confused by anything on the application, then, you know, you can certainly email us and we're always happy to meet. Okay, so that's the build program. Before I get into more resources or information about psychology, does anyone have any questions, or are you guys like curious about anything about the program? Mhm. Oh,
A question, actually.
yeah.
Um, so did you say that if we're not, unless we're planning to transfer this spring or fall of next year, we don't apply?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So, or I guess, so if you're planning on being at Cal State Long Beach by fall 2025, then you can apply for our program. But then the other like caveat to that is that you must be graduating by spring 2027. So I think it depends on, what that looks like for you. So I think for what most folks will do is they'll wait until spring semester, like spring 2025, to kind of see where things are at before
Okay.
applying. Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah, thanks for your question. All right. Okay. Well, if feel free to include any in the chat and I'll try to keep an eye on it. And then of course at the end, if you guys have more questions, I can answer them too. So I just wanted to share a few resources here at the beach. I mentioned before that psychology is housed within the College of Liberal Arts, so you can visit the department website here. I've listed a few resources that are going to be really beneficial to students that transfer to Cal State Long Beach. But of course, like I said, if you are thinking of other institutions or other universities that you want to apply to, definitely explore their websites and see what resources are available because these are really going to benefit you as you decide what your next career step or grad school looks like for you. So one of the major benefits for students in the psych department at Cal State Long Beach is called the Psychology Resource Office. That's actually an office that's dedicated completely to students' next steps after grad school. So it's awesome because there's two different rooms there that really help students decide what they're going to do. It's a wealth of resources. They have the career resource room, which has information on what you can do with a job with a BA in psychology. And then they also have the graduate resource room, which is geared towards students that are thinking about going to, a master's program, a PhD program, even other professional degrees like a PsyD, or if you want to change career paths and go into law, like JD. So there's actually an entire bookcase that has all of these binders on, different programs, different resources that you can use to apply. And then also staffing the psychology resource office are what are called pro guides. So these are peers that are also psychology undergraduate students who have been trained to kind of meet with other students and help give them advice and point them to the resources that will help them in deciding the next steps in their careers. We also have a few psychology clubs on campus. So the one thing about Cal State Long Beach is that it's a commuter campus. And so oftentimes, students will come to campus, do their classes and go home. But in order to really maximize the experience, I would highly recommend getting involved in trying to find community on campus. And one of the best ways to do that is either by conducting research and building camaraderie with your lab and kind of taking agency over your education, or by getting involved in a club or organization. So we have the Psychology Student Association, which also meets with the Psych Honor Society. I think Psych is just kind of like an extension of Psi Beta in some ways, another international honor society. And so these two clubs will have different meetings that allow you to connect with faculty on campus within the psych department. They'll have different kind of workshops on grad school and research opportunities. So it's a really great way to get involved, to meet people, and again, feel more connected to campus in some ways. We also have the Human Factors and Ergonomics Society. This one is geared a little bit more towards kind of like the cognitive sciences and human factors and engineering. And so they're an awesome group as well. So if you're interested in a career in that, definitely network with these folks. Everyone's super friendly. And then there's also the Psychology Student Study Center on campus. So that's the folks that have TAs in their class, teaching assistants, where they can meet for office hours. I think they have various tutoring office hours as well. And it's just another great place to study. I think they have like computers in this center too. So if you don't have like certain software, or if you want to use a computer, you can use that there. We also have the Student Affairs division, and so this is really geared towards various programs and services to support students of varying backgrounds, and it has different dimensions of health and wellness and support. So they have things relating to retention, health and wellness, engagement. They put on a lot of fun events, and then also have various student success centers and cultural centers housed within that as well. So, if any of these identities resonate with you, there's something for you here at the beach. And, you'll notice there's ... because there's a ton more than I could list here. So definitely visit the Student Affairs website and see like what awesome opportunities are available. So if you are thinking about transferring to Cal State Long Beach and thinking about getting involved in research at the beach's psychology department, one of the places that you can start is by visiting this website here. I'll go ahead and click it so you guys can kind of see what the website looks like. But what's awesome is that they have the faculty research areas listed here. They have the faculty name, their like brief research description, contact information. And so if you're interested in getting involved in research or exploring it, you can kind of see what their research is about and contact them directly. Some of them have listed whether they're taking students or not, or like what semesters they're taking students. So do pay attention to that. But yeah, it's a great way to kind of get a little snippet of what these faculty members are currently conducting. I'll go back. So some of the areas of research that's being conducted here at the beach, and this is the psych department, by the way, this is the building. There's neuroscience, human cognition, social and personality, clinical, community psychology, and health psychology. I should also mention other human factors, and there's different branches within each of these, but these are some of the main areas of study. I already kind of touched on the psychology resource office, but yeah, the programs are a huge benefit. The actual resources within the room are awesome. They also host what's called PALS workshops. I forget what the acronym stands for. I think it's like Peer Advising Learning Series or something like that. They have like different workshops that, again, will help orient you to the university and the department and help you with your professional development. And it's an actual physical space. It's an office, so you can go in there and study. You can kind of like use the binders and the books that they have there. But they also have virtual office hours as well, so you can always meet with them online. So here's their contact info, their department website. I already mentioned some of the clubs and organizations, the Psychology Student Association, and then the Psychi Honor Society. That one has a little bit more requirements because it is an honor society. Yeah, so if you're interested, you can follow them on Instagram or reach out to them. And here's a picture from one of the events that they host every year. That's awesome. It's called Psych Day, and it's where they have a huge kind of like research presentation where students in the department get to share their research. They have grad tabling, so they'll have representatives from different grad schools and on-campus resources here. They usually have some kind of fundraiser and a keynote speaker. So it's an awesome, one-day event for students to kind of connect and learn about different resources. I already mentioned the Human Factors Ergonomic Society. That's actually a joint club with the master's students and grad students or undergrad students. So our psychology program here on campus actually has 3 master's programs: the Human Factors program, Industrial Organizational program, and psychological research. But there's also other psychology-based programs outside of the psychology department. So there's school psychology, counseling psychology, marriage and family therapy. So there's lots of different options for master's programs here at the beach. And then the last club and organization I wanted to highlight is the Undergraduate Research Association. So that's actually an organization that's open to all CSULB students, not necessarily just psychology. It's anyone that's interested in research or wants to get involved in research. It's a great way for students to connect. It's also a great way too for students to promote the different programs that they're part of. So BUILD, I mentioned, is a paid research program that helps students get into PhD programs, but it's certainly not the only one on campus. I mentioned, URISE is another program. We also have the McNair Scholars Program, if you've heard of them. Again, they're another PhD-bound kind of research program, but there's a ton others. So it's another opportunity for students to learn about different programs, different research resources, and learn how to get involved. On that note, we do have a lot of undergraduate research resources at CSULB. So we highly recommend students talk to faculty, professors. Usually, your faculty will introduce themselves at the beginning of the semester. Sometimes they might share the research that they do and share if they're taking any research assistance. Visiting them during office hours is a really great way to connect. And, even just volunteering in class and raising your hand, it's a great way to kind of stand out, and especially if you're applying to different programs, kind of be able to stand out and potentially ask that professor or faculty member for a letter of recommendation for your application. And then talking to other students who are doing research, like I said, URA, the Undergraduate Research Association, is a great place to start, or even talking to other students in your classes. We also have what's called the Office of Undergraduate Research Services on campus. It's basically a hub for everything relating to research. And so what's cool about this website is students can take a questionnaire to see which program might be a good fit for them. They can explore the different programs that are available, and they even have like little videos and workshops that you can watch to kind of know, how do I even reach out to a faculty member? How do I draft my email, and what's the most professional way to do that? So they have a bunch of resources. Even if, like I said, even if you don't come to Cal State Long Beach, that could be a good website to explore to apply to whatever university you end up transferring to. And then, yeah, they have like templates and other awesome resources listed there. Also, I have this little logo down here for CSULB research programs. Each semester, we actually host info sessions where each of the research programs here at Cal State Long Beach kind of shares their little spiel. So it's kind of a mini version of what I gave of the build program. Each program will do that for their own program. So it's kind of nice to be able to hear from the different programs, decide which one's the best fit for you, and get their contact information and decide to apply from there, rather than having to explore each individual website or talk to each individual, coordinator. So these are hosted each semester, so I can share that contact information, and anyone's welcome to attend. So if you want to learn about research at the beach, definitely attend one of those. Unfortunately, the fall ones have already concluded, but we'll have more in the spring. So I can send that out. Right. I think I am going to skip this video. In the slides that you guys are given, you can take a little, you can take a watch of the CSULB Build program introduction. It kind of walks you through what the program does and how it's benefited students, and you get to hear some student testimonials. Okay. So in terms of what's next, yeah, I would recommend that you guys reach out with any questions. You can start researching CSULB faculty that you might have an interest in working with. One of the websites that we've listed here is the CSULB Undergraduate Research Mentor Directory. So if you click this link, it'll lead to, similar to that psychology research page, it lists all the faculty who have consented to be on the website and their research that they're doing. It's everyone on campus, so it's not necessarily just psychology, but I would encourage students that are interested in a particular research topic, even if it's outside of the psych department, to reach out and see, if you can volunteer in their lab. I think that's, like I said, one of the benefits of the Build program is that we're not tied down to kind of these like boundaries or these lines of like, you have to stay within this discipline or this area of study. We kind of like the intermixing of different science and different research. So let's say you're a psych student, but you're interested in a public health study or something relating to tobacco, or, kind of like different types of, like maybe social psychology applications that are in a different department. You can definitely explore those faculty research areas. There's also departmental web pages already linked to the psychology one. We also have, human development, sociology, all these areas that are kind of like tangent to psychology. And then, yeah, like I said, if you aren't sure how to reach out or where to begin, we do have like templates, and on the Hours website, we have lots of advice on how you can get started. Or of course, you're always welcome to email me or, reach out to different folks, the different contact info that we've listed here. And like I said, I really want to hit this point home. If you're not attending Cal State Long Beach, or if you're not sure that this is the place for you, even based on maybe the research areas, definitely look at your university for similar programs. Like I mentioned, I was a graduate of Cal State Long Beach, and when I was an undergrad, we didn't have these types of programs available. So I kind of had to navigate my own research path and my own career path, like on my own. And once I started working for Build, I'm like, wow, this is great that students are given this information and are guided on this process. So, so with that in mind, you can certainly forge your own path, but also receiving support and resources is definitely going to benefit and kind of offload some of that extra work that you might have to do. All right. So I've listed our contact information here. It's just build@csulb.edu if you want to email us with any questions. I would also recommend following us on our Instagram page. Like I mentioned, we are going to be posting when our application goes live. We also feature some of our student accomplishments on there and share other opportunities. So if you want to give us a follow, feel free to do so, but by no means should you feel obligated. All right. So yeah, that's gonna conclude the presentation. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, I see we have something here in the chat. Oh, okay. Let's see. Somebody said, would the Build program still be available to apply on November? Yes. Yeah. So our application cycle is open each semester. Actually, I'll stop sharing here. So our application is open not each semester, sorry, each year. So if you're planning on transferring at a later time, this program, you could be eligible to apply in the next year. Yeah, good question. Does anyone else have any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, are there any other competitive programs for more geared towards clinical and counseling psychology? Actually,
Yeah, that's a great question. Unfortunately, I don't know of any that are geared specifically towards clinical or counseling here at Cal State Long Beach. But that could be something to explore at different institutions that you're applying to. Either way, though, I will say having research experience is going to be a benefit because it can be sometimes hard to get clinical experience outside of the university unless you apply for some kind of internship. So working with a clinical professor that's doing research could still benefit you. So I would say, yeah, kind of doing research in the clinical realm or applying for an internship, which, like I said, the Psychology Resource Office is a great way to find information on internships, as that kind of gears towards the jobs of the BA or the grad school.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Question about, so if a student's applying for the Build program, should they already have in mind who they want to work with?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I think that in the past we haven't really required it, but we find that the students that have the most successful applications are the ones that are pretty clear about their research, interests, and that kind of ties to who they are interested in working with. If we do accept a student and they don't have a faculty member identified, usually the application review team will work with that student, but sometimes it can be challenging finding the right match. So if the student applicant, is able to identify someone before applying, that's always going to benefit their application. So in short, it's not required, but it will kind of boost your application a little bit.
How competitive is the application process? How many, you're only going to accept 13, how many applicants do you normally get?
Yeah, that's a great question. Our numbers have kind of fluctuated over the years just because of COVID and, kind of coming back to campus. So we typically receive between maybe 60 to 90 applications, depending on the year. And then the other thing I should mention is that we we share a joint application between the Build and URISE programs. So sometimes the folks that always the best fit for Build might end up going to URISE. So But yeah, just to give a ballpark number, we usually receive around 60 to 90 applications. And, you know, again, I really want to hit the point home that we are a health-related research program. So sometimes we'll have folks apply that are very clear that their intention is to pursue like a PsyD or some kind of applied degree. And so, you know, for those, we kind of, that kind of, even though they apply, they might not be the best fit for our program. Yeah.
I have one
Any other-
question.
Yeah.
So for someone who's considering a PsyD, this isn't the program to go with. Is that what? Okay, got it.
Yeah. So PsyD is geared more towards you know, kind of like practicing being kind of like a clinician. So yeah, ours is geared more towards folks that maybe want to work in academia, work at a research institute and things like that. And you know, again, you know, you all have time. So usually when you get to your institution or whatever university you're transferring to, you know, hopefully there will be resources there that help provide that career advice and guidance. So you can kind of explore some of that before committing to a program like Build. Because, you know, sometimes we have had students that have, you know, shared that they want to do research and then they end up flipping to wanting to do more practicum or be, you know, practicing clinicians. And then on the other hand, we have folks that have, you know, kind of expressed later on that they wanted to do clinical work, but after having the experience of doing research, then they decided, no, this is what I really enjoy. So my best advice is, you know, use your time to kind of explore and test things out to see what works for you and what you're interested in.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would add, and just learn about the different opportunities too. So, because I had a student last year who was convinced he was going to go the master's route or a PsyD. And then after talking about it and learning how you can go to a fully funded PhD program, and yes, it's going to be research intensive, but you're going to come out with less debt. So there's advantages to that research.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the, like, I guess, like, maybe one of the unfortunate things about like the differences between certain programs is there's sometimes more funding for programs like that are research based. So, you know, the PhD tends to have that kind of support. Sorry, see a question back there? Yeah.
I have a question about, you mentioned it was a 1 hour meeting a week, or how much time it is like during the semester and also during the summer program as well, like the summer.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so during the summer, we meet twice a week. So we meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we meet for 3 hours each session. So 3 hours on Tuesdays, 3 hours on Thursdays, so 6 hours total per week. And then, yeah, during the academic year, we meet once a week for 1 hour. So it's a drastic change. And I think sometimes our students, you know, kind of experience like a transition with that because we spend so much time together in the summer and have that opportunity to connect and like go over, you know, go into depth with some of these topics. And then during the academic year, it's kind of crunch time and we have to use that time to really dive deep into topics. So, but either way, it's valuable time spent and it's a great way for students to gain that professional development.
Now that meeting time is, the research is in addition to all of that, right?
Oh, sorry, I can't, would you mind repeating that?
The research itself would be in addition to that meeting time of the program, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so during the summer, it's a little bit more research intensive because, again, like getting oriented to the research projects, the faculty will spend a lot of time with students, you know, giving them articles to read and, you know, orienting them to what the research topic is. And then sometimes they'll have some in-person lab activities too. And that kind of creates that full-time workload. And then during the academic year, you know, we recognize that students are students first, and we really want to make sure that your grades don't suffer as a result of participating in this program. And so our requirement is that students work a max of 15 hours per week during the academic year. But of course, it can vary. It could be less. And then, you know, sometimes students have other jobs. So we don't want students to be like stretched too thin.
Okay, so I missed the beginning of this presentation, so I'm not really sure what Build is. It's like a research program, basically you apply to like be a research while you're at your 4-year university you transfer to, or while you're at community college?
Great question. Yeah, so it's actually while you're at Cal State Long Beach, and it is either a 2-year or 1-year program. And really the goal of the program is there's like 2 aspects to it. One is to help you gain research experience in a health-related field. And then the other aspect to it is helping support you as you apply to graduate programs in health-related fields. So it's all tied to human health and careers in human health, but it's kind of split between those 2 things. So that kind of relates to the previous question about, conducting the research versus the professional development. We have students paired up with a build faculty who helps the students conduct the research and go through kind of like what that research process looks like for your discipline. And then on the kind of staff faculty side, we have people like myself and then the build faculty who help students develop their graduate application materials, their statement of purpose, practice talking about their research to a general audience. And earlier on in the presentation, I mentioned we capture a bunch of different realms of health. So it's not just like the biomedical sciences and STEM fields. We also capture the behavioral sciences such as psychology, kinesiology, public health, sociology, as long as it has like a health aspect to it.
Cool. Does this exist at Cal State Fullerton too, or just at Long Beach?
Yeah, so Long Beach, they may have similar programs at Fullerton. I'm not too familiar, but for this build program, this was funded by the National Institutes of Health to 10 different institutions across the nation. And the goal with this program was to diversify the research workforce. And so they identified universities that were either Hispanic serving, minority serving, had kind of like a federal, the Pell Grant eligible. So if you met one or multiple of those criteria, then you could be eligible to apply. And the institutions like Cal State Long Beach itself had to apply for this grant. And so it may be the case that Cal State Long Beach didn't apply for it, or maybe they already had another grant. But that's why I encourage you all to look at different institutions. If you like type in like research program or diversity training program, you can find similar programs such as this. And I know for a fact that URISE, which is kind of like our sister program here at Cal State Long Beach, they also have URISE programs at different universities. So definitely be on the lookout as you're seeking out these opportunities. And oh, sorry, McNair is another one that pops up across different institutions as well. Yeah,
Then I apologize if this is like inappropriate, but I am curious about, you mentioned like it's a paid program, and I'm not sure if that would work. I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, sorry, were you asking about like what the rate is or like what the commitment is or
Both.
Yeah. So we pay students $18 per hour. And like I said, during the summer, it's a full-time position, so up to 40 hours per week. And then our students are paid during the summer for conducting research and participating in the learning community. And then because the learning community during the summer isn't an official class, it's just like a set time that we meet, students can be paid for that time. But during the academic year, students are only paid for the research work that they do, because we actually do have a dedicated class that you sign up for, and you can't be paid for being in that class. Like you already get class credit. So you're only paid for the up to 15 hours per week during the academic year for that work. Yeah. And oh yeah, sure. And then I should also mention students that work on campus are allowed to work up to 20 hours per week. So, some of our students have other part-time positions, like as a TA or, something like that for like 5 hours per week. So they can work up the 20 hours. Any other questions?